I stepped into our cruise ship for the next 2 weeks. Following behind me was my sister, my brother, and my best friend. Upon arrival, we were greeted by the captain of the ship and his crew of navigators, who pointed us to a concert hall for introduction. I had just turned 21, and I didn't really want to go to introduction. I wanted to skip that and start the drinking part. That's the only reason I came to this cruise. When we sat down, a tall lady with a creepy voice came out to give us the breakdown of how everything works and tell us the story of the ship. Built in February 17, 1968, the final Voyage was a ship built like no other. It's able to carry over 3,000 people. It was 900 feet long and weighed over 55,000 tons. The company that made this great ship named it the Final Voyage, as it was the last ship that they were going to ever make. I also remembered reading multiple stories of this ship online. On its first 2-week journey, 2,958 people bought tickets to go on this cruise, and the ship left with all 2,958 guests. But on February 21, 1968, on its 4th day in the sea, the ship lost all radio communications, and it was not found in any radar. 2 days went by, and nothing ever came back. A search party was also sent out to look for the ship in its last known location, but never found it until February 25. 4 days after its disappearance, the ship reappeared on radar screens, making its way into the port where it had departed from originally. When the captain was questioned of the incident, he told authorities they had lost all communications due to an error in the system. It wasn't until 2 weeks later when families started coming forward saying their loved ones had never came back from the cruise, and when they checked their homes, there was no signs that they ever came back. Authorities reviewed the checklist and all passengers that had gone on the ship, but none of the people they were looking for were even on the ship. There was no sign again that they were even there, and of the 2,900 people that were supposed to go on the cruise, only 2,500 had checked in and went on the cruise. This kept happening every decade on the same dates, and the same amount of people would go missing. Investigators eventually saw a pattern, but there wasn't anything to connect because there was no proof these people were ever on the cruise. People also gave this cruise a 4-star rating, as they would get scents while they were inside their room of a very bad odor, and people complained of having the same dream of people in black capes with hoods coming into their room and checking the thickness of their hands and body. After dozing off during the introduction, and when she was finally done talking, I headed straight to our room to get the drinking started, of course. We were staying at King Suites, which had about 25 rooms in that section we were in. We were in the room all the way to the back, and what made this even cooler was that our names were engraved on the plaque outside the door. Everyone had one of these, and as a memory you were able to take it home with you after your visit. Our whole section was booked out as each one had a family's name engraved in the plaque. We started off in our room, and from there the goal was to visit the 4 bars on the ship before we headed to sleep. That was the plan for every day for the next 2 weeks. We were at our 3rd bar, with only one left to go, but then I started feeling a little bit lightheaded, and I knew it was the beer kicking in. I had to call it an early night, or I wasn't gonna make it to the room at all. It was around 1 a.m. On my way back to the room, I noticed a huge fog passing right through the ship. It got much darker than before, and I couldn't see the stars anymore. Then the ship felt like it picked up in speed, because I literally had to grab onto something. It wasn't bit by bit going up in speed. It was like they gave it full throttle, all at once, and they made a sharp right turn. It also got colder, like we weren't even in the same area anymore. But I didn't think much of it as soon as I got my balance back. All I wanted to do in that moment was get to my room and fall asleep, which I did. Once I arrived into my room, I fell asleep with all my clothes still on. After what felt like hours of being asleep, I woke up scared to banging outside my door. When I checked my phone, it was only 2:30 a.m., so I thought my friends had lost their keys. When I slowly opened the door, there was no one outside. But what I did notice was the plaques on the 2 rooms across from me had been removed, and instead of saying the guest name like it said before, it said vacant. I didn't think much of it as I was still drunk as hell and just wanted to get some sleep. I went back to bed, but I woke up again 30 minutes later to someone moving my arm around, like someone was trying to move me to the corner of the bed. When I opened my eyes, it was a man in a goat mask, wearing a full cape, and he was trying to measure how thick my hands were. "Get the fuck off me, man, what are you doing? Who are you?" I yelled at him. I quickly backed up and hit him with a beer bottle and ran out the door, to only see people being dragged by other men in capes with goat masks on. They were taking anyone, kids, adults, women, and men. "Relax. You are part of the sacrifice, my brother. We have to live forever," said the guy that was trying to measure me. I quickly ran out the hallway and onto the boardwalk of the ship, and I saw where they were dragging everyone off to. It was the bridge, where the captain is steering the ship. There was 2 ways up the bridge, and I was taking the way no one was going to. I slowly tiptoed up the stairs, and when I got to the top, I was in front of the ship. I had a clear view of everything that was going on. There was a circle in the middle, and some weird drawings around that circle, and inside of it as well. One by one, they would lay people down there, and they would eject tubes into them, and that would drain all their blood. After that, they were taken into a small room. It was called the captain's quarters, where a man in a butcher suit would come out and grab the person that was next. I couldn't see what happened after that, but I knew I wasn't going to stick around to find out. I decided to go look for my friends and family, to get out of that ship, get a life raft or something, but we have to leave. Right when I stood up to go find my friends, I spotted them, being dragged into the bridge. I panicked, and in that moment while I was panicking, I must have made a loud noise, because all those things turned around to stare right at me. I ran as fast as I could to get to the back of the boat inside one of those life rafts. I passed one of those bars we had been drinking in earlier, and right when I passed it, I felt the worst pain in the world. I dropped down to my knees and looked back. There was a knife right on my knee, and it was keeping me from going any further. I crawled and I dragged myself all the way to the inside of a life raft. The issue was, I couldn't stand up, and I couldn't pull it down by myself. I can now hear them searching for me. I could hear them talking and calling for me. "Come on, my brother. It's time. We have to live forever. There's no way off this ship. Plus, brother, no one knows where we are, and no one will ever be looking for you again, my brother." Sitting here in this life raft, trying to call the police with no signal on my phone, I leaned my head against the wall, and I wish I never bought those tickets to go on the last voyage, the greatest ship of all time.